Before we get this video rolling, there's some big news. Red Raptor Writes is now on Patreon, Facebook, and Instagram at hashtag RedRaptorWrites. If you'd like to support the channel, that would be amazing. And with these platforms, I'll be able to engage with you folks at home more, as I can give news on the channel, updates, delays, and just overall give you guys more interaction, so check that out. Links in the description. Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest video essay of Red Raptor Writes. Today, I'll be talking about Batman! Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight is the final installment in Rocksteady's Arkham trilogy, or quadrilogy, depending on who you ask. Origins is canon, but developed by Warner Bros. Montreal. I count it, I don't know about you, but anyways, Knight is the last, the final, the conclusive installment to the very critically acclaimed Arkham series that includes 2009's Arkham Asylum, 2011's Arkham City, 2013's Arkham Origins, and Arkham Knight itself in 2015. Now, quick note for those who are new to the channel, I love the first two games. They are easily some of my favorites from their console generation, and I play them repeatedly. Asylum and City never get old. Origins, in my opinion, has its ups and downs, so I can understand why some people hate it and others enjoy it. I'm in the middle. There's a lot to like and a lot to dislike. So that brings me to Batman Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight is just so intriguing to me because, unlike previous games I've ranted about, BioShock Infinite, there is a ton of merit to be appreciated here. I'll talk about all the positives first, but the thing is, you can see how Arkham Knight could have easily been the best in the series, and quite frankly, one of the best games ever made. This installment has so much potential, yet so many small, dumb decisions end up ruining what could have been. It's basically a death by 1,000 cuts. So there I was in 2015, scratching my head wondering, who in their right minds at Rocksteady gave the okay on so many awful decisions? And really, it couldn't have just been one dim-witted employee. Think of how many hands these problems went through. The writers, the animators, concept artists, voice actors, testers, and so on, yet nobody spoke up. Nobody in Rocksteady thought, hey, you know what would make our product better? How about we not have half the gameplay be in the Batmobile? I suppose this is why this one upsets me so much, far more than Origins. There is so much good that I'm upset that it all got ruined by cut after cut, stupid decision after stupid decision. So, what went wrong with Arkham Knight? Let's dig this up. Before I crack this game wide open, let's talk about the positives because there are a lot of them, and I don't want to seem overly biased and give Arkham Knight more negativity than it deserves. I want just the right amount of negativity, not too much, not too little. Games should get what they deserve, and Batman Arkham Knight deserves to be praised on the visuals. Oh my gosh, this game is gorgeous. The level of detail blew me away when I first played it. Now in 2019, I'm used to games looking this good, but back then, wow. I love how you can see every drop of rain drip down Batman's cowl, every autumn leaf stick to the road. You see every hair on Gordon's luscious mustache. The world and its characters look amazing, which also help propel all of its many cinematic sequences. There are tons of memorable moments that suck you right into the game, whether it's a small part like Joker's cremation or one of the many scenes I'll be complaining about in a few moments. It's all beautifully scripted, visualized, scored, and voice acted by Kevin Conroy, and we'll get there. This has consistently been a strong point for the whole Arkham series, but man, with the 8th generation tech, I can imagine an endless budget and grand scale. Arkham Knight goes overboard with the epicness in such an amazing way. Plenty of shiny new elements have been added to this installment to help improve the overall quality of the game. Among these changes are some new enemy behaviors, like how there are medics who will revive knocked out enemies, which causes an added sense of prioritizing during melee combat instead of just hitting whoever's next to you like in previous games. Enemies now will occasionally try to grab Batman, making you need to mash out, adding some extra stress. And a charge attack was also added, which you need to quickly counter with a Batarang strike. This helps speed up the pacing of melee encounters because although you've always been given special abilities to get some quick KOs, this new component allows you to bring down even more enemies even faster. With the large crowds you'll be controlling, speeding things up is hardly ever a bad thing. Hardly. Another good example of this is the new fear takedown mechanic, in which during the Predator areas, you can down 3 enemies in rapid succession after a meter fills up, so you can kick off and conclude these sequences much faster. Combos too flow smoother and quicker than ever before, as Batman now leaps like 50 feet across the room to land his next punch. Another great addition was all the cooperative battles, with Batman fighting alongside some of his most noteworthy companions like Catwoman, Dick Grayson, and Tim Drake. These segments are so much fun as you swap between the unique characters and perform team takedowns like it's no one's business. As you remember, Arkham City had Catwoman too, but we never really got to see Bruce and Selina fight side by side. Here, we certainly get that, and it's wonderful. In addition to the gameplay, the world design is breathtaking, even if Gotham is just a smaller version of Empire City from Infamous. Each of the 3 islands has such a unique feel and style, with Bleak being the main residential community center, Miagani serving as a commercial and entertainment hub, and Founders having this new glittery world over the old world dynamic going on. Every inch of the map looks fantastic and is very atmospheric. And there aren't any obvious world design flaws like Arkham Origins that contains this absolutely massive bridge smack in the middle of the map that you have to constantly travel back and forth across. Oh, that was stupid. And finally, the one we were all so excited for, literally drooling on our controllers over, the Batmobile. Okay, hold up. The Batmobile will certainly be an enormous topic when I get to what ruined this game, but let me give credit where credit is due. The Batmobile plays just as perfectly as Batman. It is awesome to speed around Gotham City with, blowing up cars in your way. You get to platform on rooftops from time to time, an idea taken straight out of Batman Begins that's also well executed here. Well, mechanic-wise. And there's also a tank mode that works really well too, where you have to fight waves of drones and other tanks. It looks great, sounds great, and it plays great. It's everything the fans could ever want, but as the saying goes, be careful what you wish for. Overall, these changes create the most clean, smooth, and engaging Arkham experience ever. I think I can go even further than that and say Arkham Knight has possibly the best gameplay mechanics in, well, gaming. Now, that's all well and good, but what's just as important is how those mechanics are utilized. And although Arkham Knight plays masterfully, this is where it truly stumbles. Finally, after 2 pages of admittedly well-deserved praise, let's discuss where Batman Arkham Knight falls face first, making it easily the worst in the series and such a letdown of a game. I know I just gave a buttload of praise to the gameplay mechanics, so now you're probably expecting me to instantly flip around and just obliterate some very obvious problems. But I won't. At least, not yet. Let's talk story first. It's not very good, especially when compared to the previous installments. If you don't remember, because it's pretty forgettable, Scarecrow launches an all-out assault on Gotham, occupying it with a giant militia led by a mysterious new villain, the Arkham Knight. In his typical fashion, Crate attempts to gas everyone with a new strain of fear toxin, and our Dark Knight wants to stop him, of course. Well, that's the abridged version. There are several things happening on the side. Batman struggling to find a cure for Joker AIDS, Barbara Gordon gets kidnapped, and, well... Don't worry, I'll get back to these, but sticking to the basic A-plot for the moment, it's kind of uninteresting or uninspired or just meh. In large part, this is due to the fact that there aren't many original ideas. Many times you feel that we've seen it all before. Scarecrow gassing Batman, done. Batman being pushed over the edge, fearing that he'll break his one rule, done. Batman hanging on for dear life as he's been poisoned by Joker's blood, done. A loved one gets kidnapped and shot, Bruce hallucinating the death of his parents, Gotham abandoned, Gordon kidnapped, a villain who knows all of Batman's secrets, many returning villains. Just so much of it feels repetitive. I just can never shake the feeling of been there, done that. Well, maybe this wouldn't be that big of a problem, but it's not just that feeling of same old, but I've seen it before and done far better. Now, there are parts of Arkham Knight's story that do feel new to the series. The problem is that the game just doesn't care to explore these elements. A major part of the trailer and overall threat in this one is the fact that all of Batman's major villains are teaming up against him. Gone are the fierce gang rivalries we saw in Arkham City. Instead of quarreling with one another, all their time, energy, and money are going into killing Batman. Well, this would be intimidating, but we never actually see this in the game itself. We never see any of the major crime bosses in the same room together. Heck, they never even mention one another. They each operate as they would individually anyways. This threatening new idea only ever contributes to Arkham Knight through backstory. Penguin, Two-Face, and Harley Quinn pool together their money to pay for the Arkham Knight's militia. And that's about it, just plain backstory. What's supposed to make the Arkham Knight so intimidating is the fact that he knows all about Batman's secrets, strategies, and tricks. He's supposed to be ready for whatever the Bat throws at him. As players who have relied on many of the same tactics since Arkham Asylum, this should be a point of major concern, but it's not. The Arkham Knight many times falls for obvious Batman moves like hiding in grates and leaping from gargoyle to gargoyle. He comes across as so underwhelming because he gives these grand speeches about how smart he is, yet he fares no better than any of the other criminals. And the Arkham Knight makes many of the same mistakes too, such as sending waves and waves of the same enemy straight into the Dark Knight's fists, not finishing him off when he has such an easy opportunity, making the same mistakes over and over in a fight for you to exploit, and monologuing when he can just kill you instead, ending the game right there.
Somehow, I managed to find cover, and what does Baron von Ruthless do?
He starts monologuing.
He starts like this prepared speech about how feeble I am compared to him, how inevitable my defeat is, how the world will soon be his, yada, yada, yada. Yammering. I mean, the guy has me on a platter, and he won't shut up.
Also, in Arkham City, it was revealed that Harley was carrying the Joker's child, which was an interesting idea. I'm not sure where they were going to go with that, but hey, it has potential. Joker dies, but his memory is still alive through his child. That would have been cool, but then in the DLC, Harley Quinn's Revenge, there were different pregnancy tests that showed she actually wasn't pregnant, so maybe there was a miscarriage or something going on. I was hoping Arkham Knight would explore this concept, or at least give us more clarity as to what's happening here, but nah. Harley is barely relevant at all through the story, and is just forced in there at one point in Panessa Studios to extend the game's runtime. I feel like she has such untapped potential in this post-Joker world to branch out and become her own thing. Sadly, she gets wasted. There is one more ginormous letdown concerning everybody's favorite assassin, but I'll get there soon enough. Finally, let's talk about them side plots. Just like in Arkham City, along with the main plotline, there's a side plot about Batman getting sick from Joker's blood. In the last genuinely good Arkham game, Harley and a very sick Joker knocked out Batman and injected Joker's diseased blood inside him with the hopes that now he can get a cure for them since his life depends on one too. This scheme actually works, but Joker's stupidity causes his own death. Back at the end of Asylum, Joker injected himself with a buttload, yes that's a metric measurement, of a chemical called Titan, which turns you into a giant stupid monster. Obviously, such a transformation would have devastating effects on your body, causing his disease. Not that any of this was real in the slightest, but you get it. This makes sense within the context of this fictional universe. Arkham Knight, on the other hand, makes zero sense. So, back in City, it was revealed that Joker sent out his blood to different hospitals to infect innocent people. Most of the blood was stopped, but a few patients got screwed over. Apparently, exposure to Joker's blood turns you into the Joker now? This makes absolutely no sense. If I were to get a blood transfusion, I wouldn't start to mentally and physically transform into the donor. That is, unless the entire Joker act is just a disease, like a virus or STD or something. So, there's a disease that turns your skin white, hair green, and causes you to speak and act like a clowny Luke Skywalker? Even if we were to buy this outrageous idea, doesn't this completely rob the greatest comic book villain of all his character and personality? Now, everything he does isn't caused by some psychological trauma or obsession with the world's greatest detective, but can be boiled down to just a disease. Give that disease to anyone, and they become the clown we all know and love. Imagine how ridiculous an equivalent to this would be. Just imagine Star Wars, but Anakin Skywalker became Luke Vader. But Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader just because he got exposed to the blood of a Sith. Not because of temptation, fear, or impatience, but because he's sick and his disease shapes his entire character. Yeah, it would suck. It sucks here. Of course, since Batman was forcefully exposed to Joker's blood, he's infected as well. The exposure to Scarecrow's toxin strangely reacts with the Joker AIDS, causing Batman to hallucinate Joker everywhere. Before he goes totally bat-dung crazy, him and Robin are studying the other infected patients to find a cure. Well, before I dive into another thing I absolutely despise, how come Batman isn't becoming Joker anyways? Why does he need a healthy dose of fear gas to experience the Joker within, when everyone else is already transforming? Like many ideas in this game, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, here we go. One of the worst aspects of Batman Arkham Knight is the Joker. Not the disease, although that sucks too, or the ignoring of the whole child idea. No. I mean literally the Joker. We've gotten such an insanely monstrous amount of Joker throughout the Arkham series. In Batman Arkham Asylum, Joker was the main antagonist, as he's trying to create an army of behemoths. Alright, awesome. In Batman Arkham City, Joker is one of the major villains Batman needs to face, along with Hugo Strange and Ra's al Ghul. Ra's in Batman Begins, Ra's in City, okay. But again, the Clown Prince of Crime becomes the Clown Prince of Dying, which I really liked. It was an earned death, since the series had done a great job with him up to that point, between Mark Hamill's classic voice acting, the excellent writing, his whimsical animations, and an iconic dynamic with Batman. So after all this, I was excited to see what a new threat would look like. Who will rise to fill the clown shoes of Joker? Then in comes Batman Arkham Origins in 2013, featuring a newcomer to the series, Black Mask. He's put a bounty on the Bat's head, which many deadly DC foes come to collect. In turn, Black Mask essentially leads an entire crew of deadly supercriminals ready to bring chaos to Gotham. Awesome! I am so down. Let's get this bread. Wait a minute. Are we really doing this? Joker again? Alright, fine I guess. I'm not happy about it, not a bit. But please, just don't do it again, okay? Give me something new, please. Batman Arkham Knight dropped in the summer of 2015, being a sequel to all the other games. Okay, I thought. Joker's dead. He's in the ground. You can't dig him up and bring him back, right?
Wrong!
Yup, they did just that. After 3 games chocked full of laughter, wind-up teeth, and makeup, we have to go through this again. Again! And not only is Joker back, but he's in Batman's head this time around. After the initial bomb defusal scene, the Joker appears everywhere. Now, sometimes this leads to the occasional funny visual and clever line, but he overstays his welcome so fast. There is more Joker in this one game than all the previous combined. This does a tremendous disservice to Arkham City, because that game was brave enough to take the tremendous risk of killing off one of the series' main characters. The death is severely undermined by the following installments because we never get to feel Joker's death. Yeah, we saw him plop on the floor, but since we constantly see him afterwards, we don't feel like he ever died. The Joker is never absent long enough for us to miss him. Pretend that your cat, Fluffers, died. Then after he died, you still saw Fluffers, heard his cute little meows, and snuggled with him every day. Would it feel like Fluffers ever died? No. Same goes with Joker. Even if he wasn't in any other Arkham game, there are so many Shrek loads of him throughout every single moment. Every scene, every bit of Arkham Knight gets ruined by Mark Hamill feeling the incessant need to comment on everything. This leads to many dramatic and intense scenes getting immediately ruined. Bathos certainly has its place, but when you're trying to beat the grand ending to an epic saga of the most fascinating character in popular culture, then don't undercut every single gripping moment. Look, I get what the creators were going for. The greatest villain in Gotham is dead, and the city is trying to move on. However, his influence, his legacy, still impacts everyone. All the police are on edge, Batman is sick, the Arkham Knight is attacking, Harley is, well, she should be preggers. Gotham and Batman are trying to find themselves after their greatest rival has been vanquished. As a whole, the Batman going crazy aspect of this side plot just doesn't work. It's been done before, but here it makes zero sense, even in a fantasy world. And we never actually feel it. Oh, you're probably expecting me to talk about the whole Barbara subplot? Well, there's not much to it. She gets kidnapped and shot. To be honest, I like it. I think it's one of Arkham Knight's best parts, exploring the idea that Batman keeps dragging all of his friends into this crusade of his, although he's unable to guarantee their safety. Batman puts teenagers in harm's way for the good of the city, and when they get hurt, that's a burden he has to bear alone. This of course will come up later. My only complaint here is that Barbara's death gets walked back when it turns out that Bruce was just hallucinating. So that smells, but oh well. Now again, there are plenty of gripping cinematic moments, new gameplay mechanics, fun side quests, and even an entirely original villain, but many story elements still fall flat. For all the Day 1 Arkham fans out there, you probably remember that Scarecrow was already a prominent villain in Batman Arkham Asylum. And of course, he had the same general idea, to poison Gotham with fear toxin. This contributes to that Arkham Knight feeling of been there, done that. And that's not to mention Batman Begins, which had the same villain plot even before Asylum. So not only has this been done before, even in the same series, but it's been done better. Scarecrow in Asylum was far more interesting, partially because of his crazier design and more theatrical voice, but because his relationship to Batman was far more profound. Even if Joker was the main antagonist, Scarecrow contributed tremendously to Batman's internal struggle. Arkham Asylum was, of course, an asylum, a home for crazy people who can't function normally in society. Arkham specifically, though, was notorious for its theatrical crazies, some with superhuman abilities, and others who were just weird. Putting 2 and 2 together, it's obvious that this should be Batman's home. Bruce Wayne is a wild billionaire who uses his wealth to dress up like a nocturnal animal and break the bones of criminals, all because he still misses his parents. Scarecrow showed us this, letting us get glimpses into Batman's mind, bringing us to see how the asylum was breaking him down. Batman's struggle was to prove that he doesn't belong at Arkham, that he stands for something more than the average psycho, that he's not just a crazy thrill seeker. The way Bruce defeats Crane is by clinging to the symbol of hope that is Batman and shining it into the darkness. Man, those Scarecrow scenes were so trippy, so cinematic as the world slowly crumbled around you, and through Batman's eyes you experience these wild hallucinations. In Arkham Knight, your eyes turn green and you see some jokers, that's it. Rarely do you ever feel the craziness our hero is facing. The original game definitely excelled in this regard. Arkham Asylum had such an epic struggle between the two that Arkham Knight can only hope to imitate. Sadly, they can't even do that. Here, Scarecrow isn't even the main threat to Batman's psyche. Nah, he just feeds off of what Joker is already doing. Joker's the one within Batman, while Scarecrow just brings it to the surface every once in a while. Also, his plan makes zero sense, so at first, Crane causes mass panic, leading to the evacuation of Gotham by all average citizens. He does this to have easy access to Ace Chemicals, where he can finish a bomb that would encapsulate the entire East Coast in fear gas. I mean, okay, sure, why not? But this all quickly gets foiled by Batman within the first hour of the game, so it's not until afterwards that Batman's main quest actually starts. Essentially, an hour of gameplay is just a total waste of time in terms of narrative, which is seldom ever good. Once that threat is dealt with, the focus shifts to a device called the Cloudburst, which is pretty much the same thing, a device that farts out scariness, but not nearly as much as the first bomb. Look, if you're confused right now, just imagine playing the game, okay? Apparently, Scarecrow's been secretly developing the Cloudburst and a new fear toxin for months by this point, and this was his main plan all along. But then what about the giant fear gas bomb from... Nope, shut up. This was Scarecrow's real master plan all along. Yeah, this story is all over the place with an unclear central conflict, inconsistent plans, and gosh, we're still on the same Scarecrow plan from 2005. Now to kill the Arkham Knight. I already punched him in the gut before, but let's JFK this sucker. In the months before the game's release, my friends and I were mad hyped, of course, because Asylum and City were awesome. All we could do is talk about Arkham Knight. What would Gotham be like without Joker? Is Harley carrying Joker's child? And of course, who is the Arkham Knight? I personally thought it was Talia, that she used the Lazarus Pit and is coming back to finish her father's mission. Everyone told me I was crazy, and I was, but the developers hinted that the Knight would be a character we've met before, a character we've seen previously who's returned with a vengeance. However, my friends predicted the identity of the Arkham Knight to be none other than Batman's second Robin, Jason Todd. I pointed out to my high school mates that Jason Todd has never even earned a mention, let alone an appearance in any Arkham game, so having him as some big mysterious villain would make zero sense. I gave Rocksteady way too much credit. So the game drops that June, and I make sure it's in my PS4 the week of. From then on, I played the absolute Shrek out of it, and of course, I came across the many missteps I share with you today. But one thing in particular that stood out to me, well, to be honest, a lot of crap stood out to me, but the words of my classmates rang out to me as I progressed. In Panessa Studios, about halfway, maybe 3/5 into the main story, we the audience are randomly introduced in seemingly out-of-place flashbacks to a character we've never met before, Jason Todd. We learn that Bruce had Jason as his second Robin after Dick became Nightwing, and this Robin got kidnapped by Joker in Arkham Asylum. The location, not the game. Joker faked his murder and continuously brainwashed him for months into hating Batman. This was it. It was at this moment I knew my friends were right. Jason is the Arkham Knight. Okay, so I'm not just telling this story for the fun of it, or for sympathy points. I'm saying all this because it is easily one of the worst reveals I have ever seen in all of storytelling. The writers make the identity of the titular character so horribly obvious. So there's a secretive new villain whose identity Batman is desperately trying to figure out. And then in that same story, all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, we're introduced to another new character to the series whose backstory would have no immediate relevance to the plot other than to set up said twist villain. Gosh, even Harley could have figured this one out. This is then played off as some big reveal that no one was expecting, and our brilliant detective is surprised. Also, let me remind you that we were already at Arkham Asylum in Arkham Asylum. It was established in the game that Joker was there before, broke out, and killed 5 people in the process. That was it. We explored every room, every corridor, every nook and cranny, and had several encounters with Joker and Scarecrow, who has a bad habit of bringing up past horrors. And in that entire time, no one and nothing ever referenced Jason Todd's existence. You'd think that would come up once or twice, all things considered. It's a clear and total retcon. If the writers are willing to break the continuity they've established, it would need to be for some big reason. So again, it was so obviously to establish the new antagonist. Besides all that, remember, the Arkham Knight doesn't even make for a good challenge to our Dark Knight. Not only is he an idiot while pretending to know all of Batman's secrets, but after the reveal he goes from a scheming, planning, cool and collected enemy to a whiny brat, ruining any respect I might have had for the character. And his final fight is really basic. Well, first you fight him in a tank battle, more on that later, and then you fight him in a giant drill boss battle thing. Oh my gosh, this game. But for his final fight, instead of an epic clash between two near equals who know each other's strengths and weaknesses, it's simply another Predator challenge. You take out the armed thugs, sneak under the sniping Arkham Knight, and take him out. We've experienced far better boss battles throughout the series, and speaking of which, I know I gushed on and on about the pretty new gameplay mechanics and how Batman Arkham Knight has some of the smoothest gameplay within the entire medium, but much of the gameplay itself is actually quite, trash. Starting from where we left off, the boss battles. Of course, as a superhero series, the Arkham games have consistently had different boss battles for the player to fight. It makes sense. Batman has the best villains of any character, period. In Arkham Asylum, you fought Harley, Bane, Killer Croc, Poison Ivy, Scarecrow, Titan monsters, and roided up Joker. Arkham City gave us Mr. Hammer, Penguin, Solomon Grundy, Ra's al Ghul, Clayface, and Two-Face. Next in Origins, we squared up to a ton of different killers like Croc again, Bane, Copperhead, more Bane, Firefly, even more Bane, and my personal favorite fight of the series, Deathstroke. None of these games were perfect in this regard, but they tried, and many times these attempts paid off, even if a few fell through the cracks. Finally in Arkham Knight, we get, there's a big Batmobile fight with the Arkham Knight's tank if that counts. Kind of Riddler, but that was pretty bland. Yeah, there are a lot of side quests which I enjoyed, with some memorable criminals like Man-Bat, Pig, and Firefly, but none of these were real battles. You literally had to just fly next to Man-Bat a few times to defeat him. Maybe the game would throw a few waves of tough enemies your way, but there was no one really to present much of a challenge. No jaw-dropping duels. Batman never got to flex on anyone. It's disappointing considering this is the finale of a Batman saga, or so it seemed. I was sad at first, but oh my gosh. Who is this? Yes, Deathstroke is back! Man, he was awesome in Arkham Origins. I love that part where you go fist to fist with another master martial artist, truly testing a young Batman's combat skills. It was epic, man! Any more of that could instantly turn this game around. So after beating the main campaign, the players introduced to Slade Wilson as the new leader of the militia to replace the Arkham Knight. Once you clear out all the towers, checkpoints, bombs, and lieutenants, you unlock the encounter with the old assassin. And boy, each of these takes forever. There are dozens of each of these side missions. It's almost infuriating. No Arkham game has ever been so grindy. Before, all you'd have to grind for were Riddler trophies and challenges. Nothing else, at least nothing relevant to the main story. You need to beat Deathstroke to unlock the true ending of the whole series. So grind I did for hours, disabling bases, destroying towers, disarming bombs, running countless lieutenants off the streets, and punching countless mercenaries in the face. Thousands of broken bones later, I unlocked the Deathstroke battle. Finally, I get a rematch to face off against one of the deadliest enemies, created by the government to be an absolute killing machine. Hey, wait a minute. You fight Deathstroke in another tank battle? Oh wait, never mind. Here they come to face off. Guys, what just happened? Where's my Deathstroke battle? Where is my Deathstroke battle? How can you do this to me?
But you can't do this to me.
You know how much I sacrificed?
How can you make me go through all that just for a repeat of a tank shootout I had with the Arkham Knight? Oh. Forget Scarecrow. Forget the Arkham Knight. Heck, even forget the entirety of the Joker AIDS subplot. The absolute worst thing about Batman Arkham Knight is the Batmobile. Yes, it looks great. Yes, it feels great to drive in, but it is so abysmally implemented. And this is for a few reasons. Progressing from ranting about Deathstroke, there is just so much of it. Although Batman was perfectly capable of handling himself in the past 3 adventures, here the Batmobile is used for pretty much everything. Things Batman was able to do with ease before, he becomes sadly reliant on his tank for, like opening certain doors, bringing down walls, taking down groups of enemies, and fighting super criminals. Like, seriously, you can't even fight Slade anymore without your car? It's ridiculous. So many missions require you to bring the Batmobile along, which becomes a chore. There's an annoying cycle between getting the car to a certain point, clearing a way for Batman, to clear a way for the car to keep progressing forward. It's like a cooperative game, except instead of another player or ally, you're stuck with the dumb tank as your partner. Constantly, you have to clear the streets of these unmanned drone tanks in repetitive, boring shootouts that can go on for what seems like forever. If I were to be generous, I'd say you'd have to do at least 25 of these scenarios alone, forgetting all other Batmobile related things. It is absolute insanity. There's this one video I watched called Fallout 3 is Better Than You Think by Many a True Nerd. I'm not a consistent viewer, but I always enjoy myself a good video analysis, so check it out if you have the time. Anyways, in said video, this YouTuber points out that when it comes to game tutorials and introductions, video games teach you gameplay mechanics in the order of most important to least important. This seems obvious now, but it didn't click in my head until he pointed this out. Let's take Arkham Asylum as an example. The first thing the game teaches you is hand-to-hand combat. As soon as the player takes control of the wheel, they're instantly put into a brawl. Soon after, the player learns about stealth as they have to take down Zsasz. Then some puzzle solving, then boss fighting, then detective work. Some more intense stealth predator modes ensue, and finally riddle solving. From this, we can clearly see what matters most in the first game. Okay, so how does the final game go about this? Well, when we step into Batman's shoes, we're taught how to travel, which is fair enough, very important in an open world game. Next, we're introduced to the classic Arkham fighting mechanics. Good tutorial so far, but this is where things start to go off the rails. Immediately after our very first fist fight, we're thrown into the Batmobile and taught how to drive and pursue enemy vehicles. Okay, I guess. Another important mechanic for locomotion maybe? But then shortly after, the game teaches us how to do tank combat. Then the next tutorial after that is platforming with the Batmobile. No, seriously. We get 3 Batmobile tutorials before we even learn to use detective mode or stealth combat. After gliding and punching, we're thrown right into the car to prepare you for the gameplay to come. It's insanity. But the important takeaway from all this is how central the Batmobile is to Arkham Knight's gameplay. You don't need to suffer through 8 hours of story to figure this out. The tutorials give us all the warning signs. Not only is the oversaturation of Bat-Tank a flaw within the main storyline, but several side quests require constant use of the Shrekking thing. Firefly, who we had a super climactic encounter with previously, just turns into a series of Batmobile chases. Disarming bombs planted by the militia trigger increasingly lengthy drone battles, as if we haven't snapped from insanity after repeating these for ages. You have to take out lieutenants in these long car chase sequences. Many militia checkpoints require Batmobile intervention, and heck, even the Riddler forces you back into the vehicle to solve his challenge rooms. No, I can't stress this part enough. The Riddler, who only cares about outsmarting you, forces to do driving puzzles to save Catwoman. These involve vehicle-centered obstacle courses and literal racetracks. The Riddler makes you race to prove your intelligence. Are you kidding me? This makes absolutely no sense. So what, is Jeff Gordon like the world's smartest man? Is racing really the equivalent of an IQ test? And that's not to mention all the individual Riddler trophies that involve Batmobile puzzle solving. It's just, why? So much of the game is spent in the driver's seat. Yeah, because driving, racing, endless shootouts, and platforming with the tank is exactly what I wanted when I purchased a Batman game. I swear, a solid 40% of Arkham Knight in some way requires Batmobiling, and that's a more conservative estimate than Mississippi. So grab your hot cousin and get ready for some Riddler racetracks. Look, developers, I get it. You made a cool vehicle system and gameplay mechanics that you're proud of. Great. I know you want to show off your work, but there's a right and wrong way to go about it. Just look at one of my favorite films, Jurassic Park. They built this giant Tyrannosaurus animatronic and experimented with cutting-edge computer-generated effects for 1993. Even with these massive achievements, Steven Spielberg knew that writing and pacing had to come first. We get just the right amount of everybody's favorite dinosaur, the T-Rex. Spielberg doesn't cram the Rex down our throat because of how lifelike they made it, making us sick of it by the end of the film. He also didn't give us so little that we left disappointed. We got just the right amount. Enough to satisfy, but not so much that we drown in it. The Arkham Knight developers should have sat together, watched Jurassic Park, and taken notes because we get drowned in Batmobile. Also, I've gotta say, the Batpanzer doesn't work well with Batman just on a fundamental thematic level. Here are 2 rules for Batman. He can't kill, and he can't use guns.
60mm cannon operational. Riot suppressor engaged.
Well, that's one of them gone. Any interpretation of Batman that involves killing instantly sucks dung in my opinion, and the Arkham games have done a very good job with this, highlighting the no-kill rule as a core piece of the character, just like the Dark Knight trilogy, the animated series, The Dark Knight Returns, and so on and so on. However, in Arkham Knight, the Batmobile is a killing machine. You literally are playing as Batman in a giant tank, crushing Gotham's infrastructure, causing millions in property damage, smashing cars with people in them, mind you, and running over countless rioters. No, seriously, you are the no-killing, righteous Batman, yet you are flying straight into thugs at 100 miles per hour. The in-game backdoor for this is that there's an electric field around the car that shocks people out of the way, but tase or no tase, you're still barreling into people with unimaginable amounts of force, sending them flying through the air. You are still smashing occupied cars, turning them into scrap. You are murdering people. Yeah, in the Arkham games, you could argue that the hangings and pummelings were fatal or near fatal, but nothing has been as clearly deadly as this. Batman has become a murderer. And also for some reason, the Arkham Knight never takes advantage of the no-killing rule. If he knows Batman doesn't kill, then why does he send waves of unmanned tanks Batman's way? In that case, Batman wouldn't hesitate to blow them all to smithereens, but say they were being piloted from the inside. Then each drone would cause a moral dilemma, and the Bat wouldn't just blow through them all. But the game itself never brings this idea up or questions the strategy. It just wants us to have fun blowing up crap without questioning our actions. It's as if Michael Bay was the director. By now, I've slandered this game for its so many terrible choices in the writing and gameplay. The main storyline is just uninspired and doesn't make much sense when you rub two brain cells together. I've never hated Mark Hamill in anything until now, because of how overused the Joker is in this series, and this one game by itself. The whole Joker disease is such a stupid, nonsensical idea that I've seen done far better before. The one plot point I actually enjoyed for its weight and risk-taking gets walked back. Scarecrow is bland, and his plan again makes little sense. He's been done far better in other Batman media and within the series itself. The hallucinations don't have that flair that they used to, now just being visions of Joker. The Arkham Knight is disappointing because of how lame he is. Like, this guy advertises himself as Batman's ultimate threat who knows all his tricks and how to counter them, yet he falls for every trick in the book and makes mistake after mistake. His reveal too is hilariously predictable and can be seen from miles away. Boss battles are almost non-existent except in, oh my gosh, the Batmobile. I have Batmobile PTSD. I get triggered every time I see that thing. I can't even enjoy Batman Begins anymore because of how much that thing was ruined for me. There is so much Batmobile. It's sickening. Many of the villains we all know and love get ruined by this too, like Riddler, Firefly, and Deathstroke. Guys, I really want to love this game. I was so hyped for it back in 2015, but my poor high schooler dreams got obliterated, ran over by a black tank. It's all the more disappointing because there are so many things to like about Arkham Knight. The visuals are fantastic, the voice actors themselves are amazing and bring so much to the table. The music and sound design are as good as ever. Well, not as good as Asylum's, but still really good. There are plenty of new enemy variants to take out, which adds a lot more strategizing to the fights. The story had me locked in during its many gripping moments. And of course, all the new gameplay mechanics are beautifully made. The Batmobile plays so smoothly, and fights feel much more dynamic, especially when fighting with allies. There is so much good, but all that goes to total waste because all the greatness is utilized so poorly. The best parts quickly become the worst parts. The final result is a gorgeous, well-acted mess of a game with terrible writing, horrible repetitiveness, and ideas that quickly overstay their welcome. Man, this game could have been something special. Dumb decision after dumb decision ruined a video game that could have been amazing. It could have easily gone down in history with Coder, BioShock, Skyrim, Breath of the Wild, Resident Evil, and so on as one of the best games ever made. But all that potential got flushed down the toilet. Oh well, we always have the first two games. And the Lego Batman movie. That was amazing. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to please leave a like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Please, I'm trying to reach as many subscribers as Batmobile segments. See you next time.